was minding my own business when someone suggested to me, hey Altiori, you know you should try this show called Centaurworld. You would totally love it. I just have a feeling you'd love it. And I look at the cover of this show and I'm like, why in God's green earth would this person think I would love it? Oh, because it has a horse in it. All right, let's start watching. Oh my God. When I started watching, it was one of the most annoying shows I have ever seen in my life. Clearly it's geared towards children and clearly its cringe factor is over 9,000. Even worse than mine. I thought I was gonna die of cringe and boredom and I decided to stick with it. Having this big old battle horse with the voice of a 6-year-old was just nauseating to me. The body horror of the creatures put together of all different types of centaurs, while very creative, is still freaking disgusting. I have phased out of cartoons and shows like that a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but when they started getting a little bit more strange, like the kind of funniness that only 6-year-old kids would laugh at, I was like, I'm wasting my time. There's no reason for me to watch this. But I still decided to watch this because some people said there was some darkness to it. And I knew these people were probably just talking about their rendition of dark because you have the people like me who think shows like Saw is dark. And then you have the other side of people who think that someone saying the word heck is dark. You know, there's different shades of that stuff. And I didn't take into consideration at the time that who this was geared towards would be the kind of person to think that this kind of show is dark. But I still watched because yeah, it had a horse in it and I was waiting to see what would happen. It did have an interesting story and I was waiting to see where it would go along and something just made me keep watching. I don't know what it is. Maybe I was waiting for the darkness, hoping it was going to be the kind of darkness that made adult people say, oh shit, that's messed up. Not, oh my God, I'm not sure if Timmy should watch this. I actually paid attention while I was rolling my eyes the entire time. The other thing that made it excruciatingly disgustingly annoying was the constant use of people breaking into song. Not even Disney movies went to that extreme of breaking into a song literally almost every 2 minutes. I swear to God, they could squeeze like 15 songs within the first half of each episode's runtime. It got to be to the point where you just get to learn that singing is part of their language. I can understand if this was a story about birds or something, because, you know, birds keep it real with their singing. That's how they speak. But literally, breaking into song was something that I phased out of as well. Got really annoying. And the only time I'd watch that is on a Broadway show. But I excused that. And then the awful thing started happening, which is kind of ironic because it started happening to the character as well, the main character, whose name is Horse, because I guess her owner didn't care about her enough to give her an actual name. It started growing on me. It was odd. See, the first thing that you'll notice about Centaurworld is before Horse goes into Centaurworld, she's a hardened warrior, and it reflects based on her animation style. Hard lines, angular shape, something that you'd see out of something like Samurai Jack. But then, as you can see in YouTuber Crown Prince, who is a great play-by-play portrayal of what happens as she starts to change, the main character, Horse, starts turning into basically a plush toy. She becomes round, more cutesy, and less threatening. The longer she stays there is the more she becomes like the others, starting to look like moving plush toys. Yes, I understand. It's a result of her staying in that place for too long, and I was kind of hoping she'd go back to looking the way that she did, and she just never did. But the big question is why? Why did she start to change? Yes, there's some kind of magic there, but clearly there's another human there that doesn't start changing or doesn't look like that. She still has her angular face in animation, something that the characters also made fun of. Well, I don't know for sure, and there's no official answer, being as at the time I made this video, there wasn't a season 2, and there's clearly still a lot that we have to know. I believe Horse was allowing herself to fall in love. She was letting down her guard. She was a hardened warrior that didn't really care about others when she moved there, except for her rider. That's the only thing she was concerned about. But then she had stakes in Centaurworld. She started to let go that temper and that anger and the bitterness and the hardness and the stoicism. It started to become a little bit more soft. It's like when someone says you've gone soft. That's kind of what happened with her. Unbeknownst to her, she started to fall in love with the characters and the world that she was in. And to do that, she had to drop a piece of who she was to develop this other piece that wasn't given the chance to grow because she was thrust into a life full of fighting and survival. The magic human lady that was there that was trying to keep the gates closed, she probably still looks like that because clearly she still has a lot of hardness in her as well. She hasn't softened up one bit because she's like, no, we gotta keep these doors closed. I'm here for a purpose. And there's a lot of history going on with her because the other angular character, the Nowhere King, which I absolutely love his design, has some history with her too. And I wonder, what the frick is going on there? Is that your kid? Is that your husband? What is happening right now? He turned to a gigantic spider chihuahua when she came around, ready to take anything, whether she killed him or not. So I think that's the explanation. I think Horse has just given into Centaurworld. Had she stayed bitter and selfish and uncaring for the people in the world, she would have still probably looked the way she was. And basically, when you break down someone's resolve, or not really the resolve, but break down who they are to soften them up, they always have the saying that they're rough around the edges and you have to smooth out those edges. And that's basically what happened with her. First, she lost her hardened armor. And then every change physically that happened with her was reflecting what was happening with her internally. She was dropping her guard. And that's very interesting character development. Like, as annoying as this show is, I watched the entire thing. I was gonna bow out, and then I came back, and I'm like, who's the Nowhere King, first of all? They know how to set up things, and I like the way that they put the story together. So it kind of felt like a video game. They had to find all the key pieces, and ultimately find the Nowhere King. It started off being so freaking creepy. Love the song for the Nowhere King, by the way. And then he wasn't really scary at all, because then he did the classic villain thing that every kid villain does. I'm so scary. Had us in the first half. And then he starts talking. You're gonna die now. Kills him very slowly. Prepare to meet your doom. Talk their ear off for another freaking half an hour in his time, and then not kill them. Like, come on. You gotta keep the fear up. So now that the season 2 is coming, I'm interested to see how the real world, or the Minotaur world, is going to interact with Centaurworld. But the Nowhere King isn't really something I'm afraid of anymore, because they threw that through the door. But after seeing Centaurworld, this is something I want to do. I want to get a realistic version of these characters. Like, a really realistic version of these characters, and imagine what they would have been like in real life if we were to meet these things. Clearly, you know, the creatures from Sesame Street and almost every cartoon you've seen had personalities where they like each other because they're all monsters. But if you were a real person who came into contact with creatures that could suck things in never-ending portals in their stomach by just grabbing you and putting you in there, we'd be freaked the frick out. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This is Ultiori. You ask, we answer.